I'm not sure if you're ready for how wild this story gets. You know those mornings where you wake up thinking nothing could possibly go wrong? Well, let me tell you, standing on my own porch, coffee still hot in my hand, I watched as Karen Williams, the so-called president of our HOA, screamed into her phone at 911, waving her finger straight at my face. He's a criminal. Serious HOA violations. She wanted to sick the cops on me, all because my grass was what, half an inch too tall. I stood there, blood boiling, jaw clenched, trying to wrap my head around the fact that somehow on my own land I was being treated like a felon over a lawnmower setting. Yeah, that's how my week started. The thing about people like Karen, they never realize the line until they're 20 feet past it. She didn't just cross that morning, she brought a clipboard, a measuring tape, and a sense of entitlement so thick you could cut it with a rusty fence post. The way she slammed her sedan door, adjusted her navy blazer for the third time, and white-knuckled that clipboard, you could feel her nerves trying to hide behind paperwork, and the hope no one would call her bluff. I wiped my hands on my jeans and walked out to the fence, watching her sneak looks at my ranch house, taking photos of my boundary markers like she was gathering evidence for a federal raid. I just called out morning as neutral as I could manage. She nearly dropped her clipboard, jumped like a rabbit, then squared her shoulders trying to look larger than life. Good morning. I'm Karen Williams, president of Green Valley Estates Homeowners Association. Your property is in violation of multiple community standards. It was an act one you could spot a mile away if you've ever dealt with authority that's all bark and no bite. I leaned against the fence and looked her dead in the eye. That's interesting. What authority does your HOA have over this ranch? Her chin went up. We have full legal authority over this development. She said it fast, voice cracking on authority. I studied her, letting the silence stretch until my phone buzzed. A number from DC flashed up before I silenced it. She didn't notice, too busy shuffling papers. Could you show me your HOA's federal registration documents? I asked, slow and steady. The clipboard slipped from her hands. Papers went flying in the breeze, and she was down on her knees, scrambling through gravel for her official forms. Watching her, I couldn't help but notice the morning light catching documents stamped Western Region HOA Compliance Confidential and some pretty professional camera equipment on my desk. Real federal evidence gear, not something you'd expect on a cattle ranch. My radio crackled. Base, this is Field Unit 7, requesting status update. Karen froze, looking up at me with wide eyes. Field Unit, I just shrugged. Security. We keep valuable livestock here. She got up, dirt on her knees, blazer askew, some of that HOA president polish starting to chip. I'll be back tomorrow with proper documentation, she managed, trying to recover. I just nodded. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. She drove off, still trying to figure out who or what she was dealing with, watching me in her rear view as I answered that DC call. My voice slipping into that formal tone only federal training can drill into you. I'll have the field report ready for DC by Friday, sir. Through the window, she caught just enough to get suspicious. The morning sun lit up the organized chaos of my desk, federal forms, radio cameras, nothing like what she'd expect from some hayseed rancher. After she left, I keyed my radio. Subject made contact as predicted. Approach matches behavioral profile. Horses grazed out back, totally oblivious, which honestly made for the strangest kind of peace after that showdown. But it was clear this was just the start. Karen Williams had no idea she'd poked a bear 10 times bigger than her HOA. I logged it all. Day 1, initial contact established. Subject displays classic unauthorized authority projection. Next morning, she returned, this time with a stack of papers held to her chest like armor and an attitude to match. Her energy was different, all forced fury instead of shaky nerves. She stomped up to the gate, clipboard and red pen out, ready to duel. Mr. Thompson, I've returned with the proper documentation regarding your multiple violations. She listed them: fence too high, commercial livestock without permits, running an operation. I just pulled out my own pen, federal issue, eagle logo shining in the sun. Her eyes caught it, her rant faltered. When you say community standards, you mean interstate commerce jurisdiction, right? I asked. That stopped her cold. No, these are local HOA regulations. I kept writing, dropping terms like HUD compliance and federal oversight just a hair too casually for your average rancher. She went beet red. We don't need HUD anything. This is local authority. My phone rang again. I answered quietly, snapping covert photos of her documents with my professional camera. She started getting twitchy, catching the tail end of my conversation. Yes, the subject is escalating as scheduled. No changes to operation parameters. What operation? What subject ranch business? I shrugged, but she was rattled. And it only got worse. Through my kitchen window, you could see the real monitoring gear, multiple screens recording devices, radio stacks that belonged in a federal field office. She caught sight, her frown deepening. Why does a cattle rancher know about federal protocols? She demanded. I tapped my tablet, pulled up the Federal Register with the confidence of someone who helped write the thing. Every property owner should understand their rights under federal housing law. You might want to check your HOA's compliance before proceeding. It hit her like a punch. She stepped back, voice cracking, clutching her papers. A silent alert flickered on my tablet, Field Unit 7 active. She caught a glimpse, now sweating. Security protocols, I said. Standard for protecting assets. She shuffled her forms, fighting the wind, while I sipped coffee, calm as sunrise. The difference between her haphazard paperwork and my federal-grade equipment couldn't have been clearer. I laid it out. Every HOA operating in interstate commerce falls under federal jurisdiction. You might want to look that up. She just stared speechless, then backed away, shoelace untied, retreating to her car to watch from the corner. I answered my phone, posture snapping straight as I checked in with headquarters. Situation developing as predicted. Third day, she came back with backup 3 neighbors in tow, none of them looking thrilled to be part of her show. I'd set up my office to make everything unmistakably official, legal bills on the desk, multiple monitors, evidence collection gear lined up, military neat. I made a show of calling a lawyer about HOA disputes, my voice carrying just enough worry for Karen to overhear. She latched onto it, trying to sell herself as the helpful enforcer. That's why we're here, to help you comply voluntarily. I greeted each neighbor, asked about their families, instant rapport. Within minutes, they drifted toward me. Karen's energy getting more desperate by the second. Then I pulled up the Federal Register, mentioned how I'd helped write the current guidelines. Karen went pale as drywall. You what? I kept scrolling, citing section numbers and interstate implications, letting her stew in the confusion. Inside my system chimed federal database access. Neighbors took notice. What kind of ranch is this one? Whispered. I kept documenting, logging everything with timestamp precision. My phone rang. Legal department, I need an assessment on interstate HOA fraud. Karen's hands shook, trying to write another violation notice, pen skipping across the paper. I ended the call, then smiled. Actually, never mind about the attorney. I think I can handle this myself. The switch was obvious. Karen came at me with a final notice demanding $2,000 in fines. I glanced at her, all measured patience. Karen, do you realize that demanding payments under false authority is wire fraud? She shot back defensively. You're just trying to scare me. I turned on a recording device, the red light catching her eye. You should definitely research your rights, especially about federal crimes. She staggered, tripping as she backed toward her car. The next morning, Karen was a mess, dark circles under her eyes, outfit, all wrong, nerve shot. She stumbled out, dropping her keys, muttering to herself. I activated my body camera, announcing calmly, I am now recording this interaction for legal purposes. She lost it, kicked over my no trespassing sign, stormed up into my space, finger wagging, yelling about complete authority. Her accusations got wild, claiming I'd threatened her, acting erratic, the whole 9 yards. And then she dialed 911, voice trembling. He's threatening me with a weapon. I stood 10 feet away, hands visible, body cam rolling, knowing this was about to get very real. Police rolled up, lights flashing, hands near their holsters. Karen's lies had escalated this into a dangerous situation. I moved slow, announced every motion, handed over both my Texas driver's license and federal ID. The lead officer's posture changed immediately, respectful, cautious. Dispatch, we have a federal official on scene, possible false report. They pulled up the body cam footage on the spot, clear as day, Karen trespassing, lying about weapons, me standing calmly. Ma'am, you filed a false emergency report. That's a criminal offense. Karen's face drained of color. She tried to run but tripped over the very sign she'd kicked down, karma, right on schedule. She hit the pavement, phone skittering as I offered her a hand up, basic decency. She flinched, spooked. More officers arrived, supervisors. Then the big question, sir, should we contact federal authorities? I showed my badge. They're already aware. This investigation's ongoing. Karen overheard the word investigation, hitting her like a ton of bricks. "What investigation?" she whispered. I faced her badge gleaming in the sunlight. "The one you just became the primary subject of, Ms. Williams." Her legs wobbled. She sat on the curb, hands shaking. Every trace of the iron-willed HOA president was gone. As the pieces fell into place, I laid it out for everyone to see. This property is the Western Regional Field Office for Federal HOA Compliance. We oversee regulatory enforcement across 12 states, focusing on fraud prevention and consumer protection. Karen's eyes went wide, finally seeing the federal-grade operation behind the rancher disguise. She hadn't just harassed some homeowner, she'd tried to scam the one person who could shut her down for good. Neighbors stepped forward, ready to tell their stories. Federal agents arrived in black SUVs, computers and evidence kits, turning my place into a command center. Every document, every violation, every illegal fee demand was photographed, logged, tagged, real evidence for federal court. Karen's operation, it turned out, was just the tip of the iceberg. A web of fraudulent HOAs was being uncovered, all because she picked the wrong target. When the prosecutor arrived, briefcase in hand, he didn't mince words. "Ms. Williams, you're facing 15 to 20 years in federal prison for mail fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and federal housing law violations." Karen whispered, "I didn't know it was federal. I thought this was just neighborhood business." The answer was cold comfort. Ignorance has never been a defense. At her sentencing, Judge Morrison's words echoed through the courtroom. Citizens deserve protection from those who abuse authority for personal gain. Karen got 18 months in prison, 3 years supervised release, full restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA governance. Her home went into foreclosure, friends vanished, and her future was community service in an orange vest. As for me, I received a commendation at HUD headquarters. My case became a national training example, and federal oversight grew teeth. 47 fake HOAs shut down using the methods we developed here. Green Valley estates thrived under voluntary legal governance. Kids played on sidewalks again, families planted gardens where Karen's fake office once stood, and block parties replaced hostile meetings. So what's the lesson? Maybe this power isn't about how loud you shout or what papers you wave. It's about legitimacy, about doing right by people, about knowing the law is there for the powerless, not the bullies. The Constitution, when respected and enforced, protects the ones who need it most. And just so you know, the story isn't really over, because somewhere out there another Karen is testing the boundaries, and it's up to folks like us who know the law, who keep our heads, who refuse to be intimidated, to stand our ground. Now let me ask you, where do you draw the line between authority and abuse? Have you ever faced down a bully hiding behind a badge or a title? Drop your story below. Let's talk about what real justice looks like and how we protect our neighborhoods for good.